So this is the third time for me to try record these videos. I had gone to the studio like 2 weeks ago on the weekend when I was off work to record, and literally when I was outside, I booked a slot at say, and when I was outside, I got a call, so I had to go because of a family emergency thing. Everything's fine, but I had to literally just ring and be like, I'm really sorry, I can't do the recording now. And then I was sick for that week, so I couldn't even do it at home. And then on the weekend again, I chanced going in and seeing if they were available, and they were, but they only had like a short amount of time, like an hour. And I was like, oh, I'll just try shove the recordings in. And then the person who was due after me came, and I wasn't able to get my recordings in time, and I didn't want to be like, no, just give me a little bit of time, because I hadn't booked the time. I didn't want to be a dick. And then I was supposed to go back, but they don't open on Sundays. And then it was Monday, I was back to work and all this. So I also wasn't happy because of the lighting, because I tried to do the lighting myself. So yeah, third time's the charm. So we'll just get into it. I have 2 short murder videos for you guys this week. So one will be coming out Saturday, and one will come out either probably Monday, Bank Holiday Monday. And then I'm also going to have a video for the Patreon guys. So if you're not over there and you want to go check it out, you can. There's a few exclusive videos up there for those guys. So yeah, just going to get straight into it. Gráinne Dillon was a 24-year-old from Anmount in Gloontain, County Cork. There was her mother, Patricia, her father, Michael, and then she had 2 sisters, Aoife and Gráinne, and 2 brothers, Tomás and Micheál. I'm pretty sure it's Micheál and not Michael, but I could be wrong. She was a recent graduate after studying hotel and leisure management. When our story takes place, she has been working at Jury's Inn on Steamboat Quay in County Limerick, and she's here about 6 months as a trainee manager. Gráinne will be described as gutsy and full of life. She had many friends and she loved fashion. So on January 5th, 2002, the hotel, Jury's, it had 150 bedrooms, and on this night, I think it could have been actually the 4th going into the 5th, it was fully booked. So there was like nearly 300 residents staying. And Gráinne was working like the night shift. So I don't know if she was always working the night shifts. I know a lot of the times like the trainee managers and assistant managers usually get kind of the crappy shifts. But she was working the night shift, and 26-year-old Paulo Nascimento was also working the night shift with her. He was a porter, and he was originally from the Algarve in Portugal. So just bear in mind, hotel, 150 rooms, 300 residents essentially, and there were 2 staff on. So a little bit more about Paulo. He came to Ireland in October 2000 with his girlfriend at the time, who was Irish. She was actually from Limerick. So that's obviously where he was. Now at the time our story is taking place, they're not together. He is not happy in Ireland. He wants to go home, but he doesn't have money to go home. So he makes a plan. A couple of days before January 5th, he goes to the home of his ex-girlfriend's father in Castletroy, Limerick. And he would rob a single barrel shotgun and 18 rounds of ammunition, or bullets of ammunition, shells, sorry. He robs 18 shells. Now, I don't know when he robbed these, were they there? Did he just break in? Did they not know they were gone? That kind of made me wonder, like, why wasn't the theft reported? Had it been reported and they just didn't know that it was Paulo? I don't know. There doesn't seem to be any more information on that side of things. So he robs the gun. He then goes to the hotel and smuggles it in and hides it in the attic. He's there, at this point, he is working in that hotel 6 days. Actually, less than 6 days. He's working in it 6 days by the 5th. So he's working in it like 3 days. And he knows where to hide things. On the morning of the 5th, at 4:20 a.m, Gráinne is in the downstairs restaurant in the basement, getting like the cash floats and stuff ready, for the next day. And Paulo comes down with the shotgun. And by gunpoint, he forces her into the kitchen. Now it is said, and anything from this moment onwards is really by the words of Paulo, what he says, he does what she does, what they say. And it is said that Gráinne says, like, this isn't going to happen about him robbing the money. So he wants the key, obviously, to the safe. And It's reported, so when she says this isn't going to happen, he shoots her in the chest. So he shoots her in the right breast. And then he like pulls her or drags her or whatever to like the dry stores, like a pantry or something. And in there, she like slumps into a seat and he shoots her again, this time in the right side of her pelvic region. He then goes off with the key to the safe and takes money. So the figures are kind of the figure 2313, like 2,313, and then 3,313, and then $3,000 is taken. So he takes this. He also takes the tape from the CCTV, and he goes back in to the dry store. And as Gráinne lay bleeding, he shot her a third time. These are all at point blank range. And this time he shoots her again in the groin area and leaves her bleeding to death. It's weird because kind of as soon as he leaves, he seems to panic. And he also took her phone, presumably so she couldn't call anyone. So he puts her phone, he puts the gun, he puts the cash, he puts the keys to the safe and everything into a bag, and he hides them in a laneway close to the hotel. And then, I don't really know what he does for a while, but basically he turns himself in, he shows up to Henry Street Garda Station. I don't know how soon after. One report says like kind of 5:30 a.m. So I don't know if he kind of immediately panicked and went to them, or if it was a bit later. But he would be arrested on the following day. On January 10th, Gráinne will be laid to rest. The trial was set to go ahead in March 2003. Paolo had been kept on remand in Limerick prison, and like a psych eval had been reported and stuff, had been requested and stuff like that. And a lot of the time they do this where they'll let that time, the year or so when it gets to trial, they'll let all that go, and it's only at the last minute that they'll plead guilty then. And so I feel like it's kind of dragging it out for the family. They don't really know, like, are they going to have to go through a trial for a couple of weeks? Are they going to have to give evidence? Not just in this case, all, kind of the families of murder victims in general. And it's always at the last minute then that they'll plead guilty. And I just feel like I know that does save the family to trial, but then it's still that kind of time leading up to it, So he pleads guilty and is obviously sentenced to the mandatory life sentence. The inquest into Gráinne's death would be held in September 2004. So in March 2004, Paolo Nascimento applies for his personal belongings to be returned to him. And some of them are considered evidence. So because the inquest still hasn't happened, they couldn't be returned. Now, I couldn't find any other articles on this after, so I just assumed that they were returned to him once the inquest was over. At the inquest, Inspector John Scanlon would say he believes that Gráinne wasn't going to allow, the robbery to happen. And again, he said it's, Nascimento's words that we have to kind of go by, but he believes that she may have, once they went into the kitchen, she may have then went to walk, to move, to leave or whatever, and that's when he shot her. Now, I don't know if he's implying then that in a panic he shot her, because he actually does go on to say then that he does believe that the intention was always murder, and that if other people had been there, had come, across his path, that he would have shot them as well. Why kill Gráinne? Did you really feel like you needed to shoot her that once, let's say, right, because she wasn't going to give you the keys or this, or she was going to go, whatever, and you panicked or something? You shoot once, fine. Go rob the place and leave, run, flee. But you shot her again. And then again you ran and flee and you done all this and then you went back and you shot her a third time. The state pathologist, Dr. John Harbison, he would also say that the cause of death was shock and bleeding, but mostly attributed to the bleeding. The second shot to her pelvis actually hit a major artery. Justice Barry White would say it was a vicious, brutal and callous murder. One article talked about how this was a wake-up call for hotels in Ireland, regarding their security. And the security would become a big aspect of this case. In fact, Gráinne's family wanted juries to be held responsible. They believed that they failed in protecting their employee. So as I said, there were only 2 people on. It was a trainee manager who was there 6 months. Her family say she was never given any safety training. She didn't have like a personal panic button. There was one at the reception, but obviously once you're away from reception, that's no use. So she was downstairs in the basement. If she had had a personal one, you know, may that have helped. There had been a previous incident with a fire alarm going off, I think it was. And this showed, you know, like the lack of backup because Gráinne failed to get through to the 2 managers who were supposed to be on call. A previous manager had resigned because they had been attacked by a guest. And I actually I've worked in a couple of hotels, and I remember being told like that, let's say the manager of the reception area, can't remember the full title, but he had been attacked. The residents in a room, you know, like a couple of lads, had asked for whatever, and he went up, or, you know, they said something wasn't working, let's say, oh, the TV's not working or something. And when he went up, there were more in the room than there should have been, and when he went in, there was some hiding behind the door, and as they closed the door, then they attacked him, and like that, he would have been out of work for a long time. And Gráinne's father, Michael, believed that a prosecution for the hotel could force change in the industry. And like that, 300 guests and only 2 staff members. And I suppose I never really thought about it because I didn't work in like the nighttime aspect. I only worked 9 to 5 in the hotel. So I never really would have known. But there was, I mean, I don't know for that point in time, obviously for earlier in the day. I assume then, like, you know, obviously maybe bar staff, waiting staff, all that probably would have went home. Perhaps this was only a little bit of time, like maybe she would have finished at 6 and then would have been people in for the breakfast run and stuff like that. And if the bar kind of only probably closed at 2 or 3, they would have had to have staff then. So maybe it's only a small window, but it still just seems like 2 staff for 300 people is a lot, right? But again, if you worked in a hotel and you know that kind of environment, let me know how it would have been for your hotel, or if you just know a bit more about that than I do. So the Health and Safety Authority in Ireland did investigate and they done a report. However, they decided not to, you know, continue with any charges. They said that they found no, you know, wrongdoings when it came to the law, and they believed with regards to the murder, the Gardaí had already, you know, dealt with it. That's what their Chief Executive Officer, Tom Began, had said. A spokesperson for Jury's group would say that they, quote, respectfully rejected any allegations of wrongdoing. Almost immediately, Nascimento would apply for a transfer back to Portugal, like to serve his sentence in a Portuguese prison. And this is something that can and has been done. So on the 18th of July 2003, he applied. And in his application, his reasons for the transfer were, quote, to be able to get visit from family, to speak my language, for the time of sentence to serve. I don't really know what he means with that one. And no family or friends in Ireland. He would say obviously that he had a relationship with his mother and grandmother, but that the relationship with his father was, quote, damaged. Now, I don't know if that's because of what he'd done or if that was something, you know, from beforehand. Gráinne's family were obviously very, you know, adamant that he should not be allowed transfer. In fact, her sister Gráinne would talk about how, you know, he had committed this crime as a way to get home to Portugal, and she, you know, basically said, so are the Irish state now going to facilitate that? And in terms of, you know, like punishment versus rehabilitation, she said there has to be some sort of justice served. The family met the Minister of Justice, Michael McDowell, and, you know, he did say to them that it would not be getting approved unless he knew what sentence, you know, he would serve in Portugal. Now, the Portuguese authority said, yeah, that he would serve a maximum of 25 years. And so in 2006, Michael McDowell rejected the application. Nascimento then brought this to the High Court, and they upheld the ruling by the Minister for Justice, and then he tried to bring it to the Supreme Court, but it was refused, rejected. And it's interesting because one of the aspects that his solicitor kind of argued was, if he goes over there to serve 25 years, sure, that's more than what he's going to serve here, because quote, it was common knowledge that you know, life here actually means like 12 to 15 years. So that if he goes over there, he'll actually end up serving more time. Which at the time would have been a very good argument, I have to admit. But as of now, he is still in prison. So I feel like it's kind of like vindicated, like that he didn't get to go over, because the point stood then that, yeah, like 12 to 15 was the average, but now it is getting to kind of 18 to 20 is being the average, which I'm happy to see happening. And so he has obviously served now just over 20 years. So it's kind of like, no, like you stayed here and you served your correct sentence. Now, last year in 2022, he did another High Court appeal then, because he had been applying, he's applied a couple of times for parole and he didn't get it. And then in 2021, so our parole board changed. So in 2001 to 2021, we had like a statutory parole board. And they had to get like permission from the Minister for Justice and stuff like this. And then in 2021 it changed and it became non-statutory, and it was independent from the Minister for Justice. But Nascimento claims that in 2021 the old board approved his parole, like his temporary release, and that the board said his risk of reoffending was, quote, as low as it can get, and that him being in custody was no longer productive. But now the new board it has to go before the new board again, and obviously they're like, yeah, we're you know, we're looking into it. He is in Shelton Abbey, so I think we kind of have to accept that he is going to be out soon. So guys, that is the case of Gráinne Dillon. There's not a huge amount outside of the actual case itself to talk about that's been reported, and yeah, as I said, I would suspect he's going to be out soon, unfortunately, but I'm glad to see that he's done at least 20 years, so it can't be kind of argued, well, you know, I got out after 15 here, and if he had sent me over there, I would have done 25. We're not going to ramble on. I want to get through my recordings today, so I will be doing the 3 recordings today for the 3rd time, and yeah, so one will be out tomorrow, Saturday, and then one will be out Bank Holiday Monday, and then on Sunday the Patreon one will go up. So feel free to have a look over there if you can. If you can't, liking and subscribing and commenting here is always great. Oh my gosh, I always forget, and it's only at the end of a video. We have hit 4,000 subscribers, and like I think there's 50 or something as well. So welcome to you all. Thank you so much for subscribing. I'm so excited. I feel like I got to 4 very quick, like quicker than I got to 3, I feel like. And then obviously 2, it drags on and drags on. So hopefully we'll get to 5 really quick and we can keep going from there. Yeah, thank you for all the comments and stuff that have been coming in. It has been nice to see them. I'm going to do, I think, like a little bit of an update on Yousef Palani, because obviously he has been sentenced and more information has come up since then. And there's another case in the news at the moment that I won't be talking about or anything, because we're not supposed to talk about it, but also I know this sounds silly because I sit here and I talk about crime and murders and you know, victims and stuff, but I feel like they're making a very big circus around this trial. Like there's like one of the news stations has like a podcast that every day at 6 o'clock they're reporting what was said in court that day. And I do know, I mean, I get it, because I know we all have this fascination with true crime and, you know, morbid things and all that, but I just feel like it's so new and it's so fresh. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being hypocritical. I don't know. But yeah, let me know what you think about this case. Have a lovely long weekend if you're here in Ireland and whatever other countries have a bank holiday, and wherever else you are, have a good weekend. Stay safe, everyone. There's like a whole thing now with the Gardaí, you know, because it's the bank holidays, always like we're having really high road deaths this year, and so they're really trying to, you know, push that. So if you are out driving or walking or cycling or anything, take, you know, extra care and be aware that obviously take care for yourself to be safe, but also always be conscious that there are other people on the road that are idiots and maniacs. So there's my ramblings today. We shall see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.